Recorded live.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you are listening to the VMware Community's Roundtable Podcast. Today is Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. Corey Romero, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2022. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Eric. Yourself?
I'm doing great. It's the first time I've actually said 2022 to anyone, I think. So, wow, there you go.
I haven't said it yet either. I guess it's 2022, so we'll both just do it.
I have been doing budget stuff, right, with 2022 all over the place because VMware's new fiscal year starts February 1st. So we're just getting through the end of the quarter, the end of the year. And so, there's a lot of planning going on, but I haven't actually had to say it. So, Corey, how was your holiday break?
It was great. It was much needed. Had a great time with the family. Spent actually all the time with the family. So just had an amazing time. Just much needed, break and catch up on some rest.
All right. Well, on the show today, guys, we're going to be talking to Jatin. Oh, now I even forget how to say his name. There it was. I had it, but now I don't. Jatin, welcome to the show. We'll get to you in a minute. You can tell us how you say your last name. Jatin, or I know I'm saying it wrong, but Jatin is a Senior Technical Manager, Cloud Products Business Unit for vSphere. So we'd like to have him on. We're going to be talking about PowerCLI. There's a new release of PowerCLI out, and we're all PowerCLI fans here, especially for the VMware Code program. So we're going to talk to him about his blog article talking about what's new in 12.4 and just talking about PowerCLI in general. So, but before we get to Jatin, let's Corey talk. Did Santa Claus visit your house? And if so, did he bring you anything, or were you just a bad person all year?
Yeah, Santa Claus visited and brought myself and the rest of my family some great stuff for sure. Yeah, anything? I got it. Not really. I've got a bunch of clothes, that kind of stuff. Got a little bit of candy here and there, and that was really it. We tend to just give ourselves smaller gifts, my wife and I, and then we tend to just go big with our kids. So that's what we did this year.
There you go. Santa Claus brought me NVIDIA 3090 graphics card. Let me tell you, that thing is a beast. It is a beast. And you might be asking, where did I get my hands on such a thing? I said, well, I pointed Santa Claus at eBay and said, just go bid whatever you need to do to be able to acquire that thing.
I'm going to go look up the list of solds.
Right. Exactly.
I'm just curious.
Somewhere north of $3,000 for that thing. I think Santa Claus had to pay. So I did not get a deal. I did not know anyone. I actually know people that work at NVIDIA, and I did not do that. So yes, I have an 8K television that then the 3090, the NVIDIA 3090 card can drive full game resolution at 8K. So that's just what we do at our house. We game quite a bit. And then Santa Claus brought me one of those basketball competitive games, where you have two hoops and just a little cute little thing you shoot. We used to have one of those before, and it got destroyed, and so now we have one of those again. So
nice. I do remember seeing that in your house.
Yeah.
Those are fun. Yeah, you'll have to let me borrow your gaming card do some mining.
Sure. Yeah. You can do that.
I'm sure.
Mining is not worth it, but certainly, you'd never get your money back on that card. But gaming for sure on 8K. All right. Well, let's get on with the show. Holiday. I guess any kind of news we got coming into the beginning of the year here?
Yeah, the only news I have is for vExpert. So we've got the vExpert applications open. I've said it before. I'll say it again. If you want to know about the vExpert program, you want to go apply. You can also go to blogs.vmware.com/vExpert. You can go read the article. Applications did open on December 6th. They are closing on January 14th. So you've got 9 more days to apply. We're going to announce the award applications, the applicant awards, on February 18th. So that's what I have for news.
Nice. I know that VMworld is, going to open up Reg. Nothing there. I think everything else is steady as she goes. We're getting ready for the next year. VMware code sessions. We're spending a lot of time planning for next year, and we should be jumping into it. Still got to close our year. So guys out there that are helping us close deals for the end of the year, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot for doing all that work. And all right, let's get on with Jatin. Jatin, how do you say your last name? Welcome to the show. We always start out with a little introduction, and you can tell us about yourself. But welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Corey. This is Jatin Purohit, so that's how I pronounce my name. Um, I work with technical marketing team at CPBU. Until 2021, I was primarily responsible for the core vSphere platform. So anything that you can think about vSphere stack, be it the lifecycle manager, be it the install upgrade, I was responsible for that side of the world. Starting with the new year, I have also got a new role, and now I'm part of the public cloud tech marketing team, where I will be leading the Oracle Cloud as well as the Ali Cloud VMware solutions. So that's what I do at VMware at this point of time. Like most of us, I have also started as a system administrator, and then that's where I started, getting into PowerCLI, PowerShell, and then VMware, Windows, and Active Directory were the technologies that I have started working on. Um, so from a system administrator, I have worked in the product engineering space where I was basically responsible for some of the DR related products, and then gradually moved into VMware and then started working on the tech marketing space. So that's what I do, and
Yeah.
that's what I come from.
All right, a couple just questions to drill down on your career arc and stuff. So one, where do you base yourself? Are you in the U.S. and in a state? Or are you international? Where do you live?
I'm based out of India, and to be very precise, I'm based out of Pune, which is like 180 or 200 kilometer down to Mumbai. So that's where I'm from.
All right, all right. Well, thanks for joining. What time is it out there?
It's 9:15 to be very precise.
In the evening, or
Yeah,
in the 9:15 in the evening. All right. Well, we're doing special time recording. Normally we record always
yeah.
live at 12, but to catch you, we wanted to get you here live, and so thanks for being here in your evening. Okay, so that's one question. The second question: how long have you been at VMware versus the rest of your career?
So I have 7 years of experience. I'm with VMware for like 18 months now. I would still consider myself pretty new to the company, but yeah, pretty much settled into the organization now.
Very good, very good. Well, it's nice. I don't know if that makes you a midterm person. Somewhere I heard that if you looked at all the people, anybody considered longer than 4 years of VMware would be considered an old timer, right? So
Yeah.
nice to have you on. So let's talk a little bit about PowerShells. So you wrote some PowerShell when you were at your other companies, right? As an administrator, right? Automation. We all know what PowerShell is here. If you're listening to this show, you've probably written plenty of PowerShell yourself. And then because you're in the CPBU, you managed to install other elements of the core product, which then got you into PowerShell a little bit, right? Exposure to that. Tell me what has been your experience over the last few years with regard to PowerShell and getting to program manage part of that product?
So I think let me start with the PowerShell first, and then probably we will jump into the PowerCLI.
Okay.
So in simple, PowerShell is basically a CLI environment, which also has got programming construct, and these programming constructs are like data structure, functions, class and object, and things of those nature. With these construct, you can easily create the scripting of your own choice and automate the task that you want to automate. Um, in nature, it's imperative. When I say imperative, it means that it is you who has to decide how that particular task is going to be achieved, right? For example, if you consider something like Terraform, which is mostly a declarative programming construct, where you basically decide what you want to achieve, and then Terraform executes and provision the environment for you. Now, if you compare this to something like PowerShell, PowerShell has got a wide variety of use cases, right? And I always say that PowerShell is something which is a system administrator's tool. It is not a tool that software developers or software engineers are looking to use. It is the system administrators that are the primary audience for using this particular tool. When I have started my career as a system administrator, I had some of the challenges in terms of the administration, in terms of the reporting, in terms of logging, monitoring, and things of those nature. So to solve those particular things, I find PowerShell to be one of the closest tool that you can easily use and create your own solutions on top of it. The good thing about PowerShell is that whether you work for Windows, whether you work for Linux, whether you work for Active Directory or in a VMware technology, PowerShell has got module across all the technology stack. Uh, in,
So
Interesting is that if you are into the compute network or storage stack, then also you have got the
right.
coverage in those areas as well.
And most of our listeners know, we've had PowerShell on our show many times. So all 5,000 people that download every week
Yeah.
probably, they know all this, right? So
Yeah.
the question I have for you is, when you started to get involved with it from the back end perspective, from program management perspective, how do you guys determine what new features to put in? What's your exposure? Do you ever get customer visits? Do they ever come to you and talk to you about, like what should go in next? How do you prioritize what you're going to be putting in there, working in PowerCLI?
So there are plenty of mechanism through which we decide what should go into the productization. So the first thing is we have a public dashboard, which is aha.powercli.io. Their community can put in their request and submit what they want to see in the next PowerCLI release. Our team continuously monitor that particular space and decide whether that they want to pick that particular feature and they want to act on that particular feature. Another source of information is obviously the community, communities.vmware.com/PowerCLI. We have a very huge and active community over there. So people tend to submit their requests through that particular channel as well. And also there are times when internal customers like internal BU, field, they also submit their requests with the PowerCLI team. So these are some of the mechanisms through which we basically pick up the feature request and then prioritize those particular feature requests. But on top of that, the way PowerCLI team works is they basically keep an eye on different development that are happening in other product space like vSAN, vSphere, NSX, and they basically understand, okay, this is the feature that is coming in next particular release. We have to do something about it, and they pick up their feature request according to the work which is happening in the other product BUs as well. So these are some of the ways in which we pick and choose which feature we want to work on.
Yeah, so just to reiterate that, AHA, and if you could restate the AHA URL again, just so that we can get that twice.
It is aha.powercli.io.
All right, aha.powercli.io. If you haven't used AHA before, it's kind of a vote up, vote down kind of platform that you can go and put in ideas and the community can come in and vote on that. So that's cool. Obviously, the community PowerShell on communities.vmware.com, go there. And then it makes perfect sense that, of course, you guys are following new features. And then you have to build, libraries in PowerCLI that support new features that are coming out through in the products, right?
Exactly.
You guys deal with obviously vSAN network and ESX, all products. You're constantly canvassing them to determine what libraries to build next.
Yes, absolutely. For example, recently we have released vSphere 7, and one of the key highlight with vSphere 7 was obviously the vSphere Lifecycle Manager. If you look at the vSphere Lifecycle Manager, then you have got the complete coverage with PowerCLI. You have got all the CMDLETs that you need to basically use for the ESXi lifecycle management. So yeah, there you have got the coverage for PowerCLI.
Nice. Where is the PowerCLI team these days? Are they in India? Are you near the engineering team, or do you just work globally on things with everyone?
They are in Sofia. The entire team is based out of Sofia, and I'm just working out of India. So I still consider it's pretty close.
What is Sophia? Sorry, tell me that acronym. What is Sophia?
Sofia is basically a city in Bulgaria. That's where PowerCLI team is basically located.
Okay, in India. Okay, right.
Not in India. It's in Europe, in Bulgaria.
Oh, Bulgaria. Okay, that's what I was getting at. It's like, where is the PowerCLI team these days? So they're in Bulgaria. You work remotely with them out of India. So global environment here at VMware. So that was what I was looking for. So okay, so Bulgaria, you deal with the time zone changes there. I bet that's an interesting one. And then you're driving features, and now you're moving on to cloud and Oracle Cloud and that kind of stuff. But
Yes.
interesting engagement. Okay, so good. Then they build things. So this gets now us back to your blog, right? Which
Yep.
came up on the radar. Obviously, you've got a blog out there, and it's not your own blog; it's just the PowerCLI blog, which we should mention is blogs.vmware.com/PowerCLI, and then your blog is out there 2021-09, which meant you wrote it in September. I would assume PowerCLI-12-4- what's-new.html. Just go Google that one, and I will put it in the chat on the YouTube comments right now, so people can go find that. So let's talk about your blog. How often do you write blogs?
It's quite frequent. Not specifically on PowerCLI, but I do write stuff on vSphere as well, and then moving forward, I will be writing on public cloud as well. But yeah, it's like once in a month or twice in a month. That's quite regular for us to publish the blog. When it comes to PowerCLI, I mostly write whenever there is a new release of PowerCLI, and if we want to tell what's new with that particular release, that's when we basically push out the PowerCLI blog. For vSphere, again, it's the same thing. Whenever there is a new release for vSphere, you will find plenty of technical content on blogs.vmware.com as well as on code.vmware.com. But with vSphere, there are times when we want to deep dive into some of the technical bits of some of the features. Then you find that apart from the release, there are blogs coming out here and there just to explain the technical concepts and the new features. So that's kind of a frequency that we or my team writes the blog on some of these platforms.
Right. So how long has 12.4 been out?
It's like 4 months, and we already have 250K downloads, which is quite good in numbers. We have received a good response from the community because when we look at the release and when we look at the deliverables, it's not about the high-level CMD-led, but some of the API bindings that we have released with PowerCLI 12.4 is something which has catch the eye for most of the community members. So yeah, 250,000 download is quite a good number for me.
All right. Well, good to know. Let's talk a little bit about what people get exposed to. I think there's we're looking at your blog and just start out with some of the major stuff is the REST environments and the REST API. So why don't you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, before I get into the REST, let's quickly discuss some of the APIs that we have in our products, especially in vSphere and some of the products around it. If you are familiar with our products, then you have different API interface. To begin with, you might have SOAP API interface. You may have a vSphere API with JSON RPC, and then you have the REST APIs. One can argue that why can't VMware have a uniform single API interface for some of these products? Well, the fact is each of these API interface has something unique to offer, right? For example, if you consider SOAP, it's very structured, it is very organized, and it is very compliant with some of the web service standards that we used to get. So when you talk about compliance and security, then SOAP API has some of the built-in feature then and there itself. If you compare this to REST, REST is more of an open, more of a loosely coupled API structure where developer has more flexibility in terms of what they want to get out of these particular APIs. So clearly, each and every API has their own pros and cons, and we at VMware has different variety of product across the different stack. So that's why we see a different API interface across our product. Now, what PowerCLI does is it basically abstract all of these APIs and provide you a very simple and unified interface to interact with. So for example, if you consume something like GetVM is basically a very high level CMDLet, which basically lists the virtual machine which are basically running on either ESXi host or available in your vSphere environment. Behind the scene, it is basically invoking the SOAP APIs. If you consider something like get CIS service, it's a different API interface which extract the information from the JSON RPC. And similarly, if you go into the developer view, which is basically available in the vSphere client, you can basically access the REST APIs. Um, so the point is, if you are using PowerCLI, you don't really need to worry about what APIs you are using, what are the complexities in terms of using these particular APIs. PowerCLI makes this particular implementation very easy for you. So it doesn't really matter whether you know SOAP API, whether you know REST, whether you know JSON RPC, but the overall presentation of your automation or your CMDLet is very uniform across the environment. So that's one aspect where PowerCLI has its value proposition. Now with this particular release, what we have done is historically we already had the API bindings for SOAP. So for example, for SOAP, the API binding is getView. So when you execute getView, it basically invoke the SOAP API binding. For JSON RPC, we had something like getCIS service. So when you invoke getCIS service, that's basically the JSON RPC implementation. What we have done and delivered with PowerCLI 12.4 is the new API binding, which is compliant with the REST APIs. So when you go into the vSphere client, when you go into the developer center, and when you check the APIs that you see in the developer center and the vSphere client are the REST APIs. So invoking these particular REST API via PowerCLI has made simple in a single liner PowerCLI function. So how it works? Uh, if you know REST API, you know that you have to use any REST API client. It can be Postman, it can be PowerCLI, it can be any tool that can invoke the REST API. Some of the artifacts that you need in order to invoke the REST API is basically you need the method, you need the URI, and then you need the payload, which basically works as the input. And then once you execute that particular API, it basically returns you the output of that particular API. Now, if anybody who is experienced in PowerShell, they know that they basically need to create the payload, they need to create the authorization with the security tokens, and then they need to use the invoke REST method or invoke web method to basically invoke the REST API. This is basically 5 or 6 line of code that you are minimum required to execute. What we have done is we have simplified this particular execution and created a high level PowerCLI function which can directly invoke the REST API once you are connected to the vCenter server. So to connect to the vCenter server, connect-vi server is the CMDLet that everybody use. And once you are connected, you just need to invoke those low level PowerCLI function directly without requiring you to use the native PowerShell function to invoke the REST API. So what we have done is we have simplified this API binding with the PowerCLI so that you no longer need to use all of these complex method to basically invoke a REST API. So that's what we did. And once we have these API bindings, we have got pretty much good coverage on all the API interfaces that we have within our products. So that's what we have delivered with 12.4.
So 5.4, the REST API consolidation of the initialization is what I'm hearing, right? You've consolidated the initialization process from X number of lines down to just one call, that once you've done the initial setup, you can then just do that call. When you're using the REST API, do you have to do that initialization every time I used to do a REST call, or is it just one time in the beginning of your code?
So few things. First thing is, first of all, it is very important to understand that these API bindings are auto-generated. And it is very important to highlight this particular aspect. I will come on to the initialization part, but it's very important to understand how these PowerCLI API bindings are working behind the scene. So when we say auto-generated, it means that, let's say in next vSphere feature, we may have 5 or 10 APIs which got introduced. Nobody needs to basically write these low-level PowerCLI function. They will be introduced then and there itself, because these are the auto-generated API bindings from the Open API generator.
Right.
So, so there are two parts in the REST API. The first thing is your method, right? Get, post, put. All of these are basically method. Basically means that what action you want to take against that particular object, right? And to initiate that particular method, you need to basically pass certain inputs to that particular method, or that particular REST API. For example, if you want to create a VM, then your input can be virtual machine name, CPU, RAM, and things of those nature. So to initialize the input, or just to say to initialize the payload, we have got a low-level PowerCLI function, which basically abstract the input parameters into the initialize function. And once you have this particular initialization, you can pass this particular initialization to another CMDLet, which is basically invoke REST method, or invoke, let's say, list VM. With this, what you have is, for input, you have initialize, and for invoking those particular method, you have the invoke function built into the PowerCLI. So this is how we have simplified the API bindings.
Right. I just copied some of that code that you have in your blog, because you do cover that initialization in your blog article. So I just put that in the chat for people that want to go look. vBarbecue on YouTube. You can go look at the chat and see what we're talking about there, or go to the blog article, blogs.vmware.com/PowerCLI. You've got that initial code there, right? So what my question was, okay, so it's automated. Then once I'm in my PowerShell, that's set up. I don't have to do that I don't have to do that again, right? Do I? I can then
No.
Okay.
Initialization is very similar to handling the input request in any CLI interface. So for example, if you want to list a virtual machine with a specific name, you have to provide a virtual machine name, and that becomes your input. Now, if you talk in terms of REST API, that becomes your payload, right? So if you want to pass certain inputs, if you want to pass certain value to your REST API, then you can use initialize method, and that can basically work as the input parameter, and you can basically take that particular input and pass that particular input parameter to invoke function, which can essentially invoke the REST API.
Nice. Okay, good. All right. So that explains that. So, and you can go to the blog, take a look at that, and go get the documentation. You mentioned there's obviously new documentation as well. Anything to cover there?
One thing which is very important for us, and we have keep reminding our community members about this. If you look at, we have a new interface, which is developer.vmware.com. This is the new home for code.vmware.com as well.
Yep.
So if you go there, and if you go to developer.vmware.com/API, that's where you can understand all the API interfaces that exist in our product family. And similarly, we are talking about the REST API. So if you go into the REST API documentation, along with the REST API example, now you have the PowerCLI example then and there itself. So what you can do is you can go to the REST API. If you want to, let's say, execute the PowerCLI code, you can directly look at the example, copy that particular example, and directly hit that particular code into your CLI. So this is a new addition that you will be experiencing with our documentation. Initially, it was only the curl method that were documented into how to use those particular API using curl, but now you have got the PowerCLI example as well, which demonstrate how to use these particular APIs in PowerCLI.
Right. And it looks like you have a screen capture here where you're going through and you're actually going out to developer.vmware.com, going into the site and pulling some code, dropping them in. So again, go to the blog and check that out. That's kind of gives you a nice little demo there of a screenshot that goes there. What else do we have in this release?
As I've said, we didn't had much in terms of the high-level CMDLet except for the certificate management CMDLet. This was again a request that we keep getting from our customers and community members. So we have released a new PowerCLI module, which is PowerCLI.vCenter. And I will explain this particular module in detail. But what this module covers is the high-level PowerCLI CMDLet to cover some of the functionalities that are related to the certificate management. this particular module is basically consuming the new API binding that we have introduced with PowerCLI 12.4, and it is very important to understand that the way we create PowerCLI CMDLET is either we use some of the API interfaces like SOAP, JSON, RPC, or REST, or we use our proprietary SDKs. But this specific module is purely built into the PowerShell native. What it means that we are not using any SDK. So it means that you can basically go into that particular module and understand the details about how that particular module has been created, and it's purely written in the PowerShell, and it's using the new API binding that we have introduced. But yeah, when it comes to the functionality, whatever you can think about certificate management, now you can invoke those particular action using PowerCLI.
Nice. So certificate, and I see in the blog, add VI trusted
VI trusted certificates. Yeah.
VI machine certificate, get VI trusted. Yep. So you have them listed there, and then other improvements, upsizing VMC SDDC.
There are minor improvements in some of the VMC and vSAN space. I don't exactly recall these minor improvements, but as always with every PowerCLI release, we keep releasing these minor updates as well.
Right, sure, of course. And then we gotta say new PowerCLI logo, right? So
yeah.
We get a new logo out of the thing. I thought people loved the old PowerCLI logo. They're just making us upgrade, aren't they? Like the old one was like at the black with the green, had a monitor in it, and now I look at the new one and it's at least it has a prompt with a cursor, right? So you do have a prompt and a cursor, right?
Yeah. Well, I have also liked the old logo that's like whenever somebody says PowerCLI, then a black prompt with some of the green boxes around it. Right. That's the picture that comes around me, around it. But yeah, the new logo is basically has to adhere to the new brand compliance that we have within VMware. So as you know, we keep revamping our logo, we keep revamping our brand guidelines. So yeah, it's just following the new brand guideline, which basically says that now it is capable of supporting some of the VMware cloud functionality as well. So it's no longer just an on-prem CLI.
Right. There's a cloud icon behind the cursor icon.
Yes.
I got that. I didn't understand that before. I'm a big terminal green black. I'm typing on my green black terminal. I still use VI. I still run a lot of shell stuff, and so it's like, what happened to the logo? But I got it now. Like. There's cloud behind it, right? And certainly controlling cloud infrastructure with PowerCLI is becoming what people are doing, right? So it's and I look at Kubernetes now and I see that people are now using PowerCLI to engage and kick things off at Kubernetes workloads. So certainly the cloud logo portion of it I get, right? There is something funny in that. The old school guys have the old logos that we've fallen in love with, and then there's the brand police that just drop in from parachutes and they go, okay, you're going to have to create a new brand. And they use brand compliance as and I want to say no, we've had this logo for basically 15 years. Exactly. You need to be compliant with us, not we need to be compliant with you. But we don't get a choice in the matter very, very often. So it's a hard thing. To such a degree, I'll just give you guys some insight in this. Like if you go to have a sticker made, right, and you need to make 10,000 stickers or something like that, you have to cut a PO to a vendor, right? You can't expense it on your travel expense credit card. They don't let you do that. They won't approve it. You have to go do a PO with a vendor, and they only have 3 vendors approved in the system to get stickers made, right? Like Sticker Mule and Brandvia and a couple others, right? And they have gone to the sticker vendors, the bumper sticker vendors, the t-shirt makers, and they've said you're not allowed to make VMware t-shirts or stickers unless brand has approved the artwork.
Yes.
So you can't actually go so I've actually had to put things on my credit card, pay for them myself, right? And just eat it, right? Because I want some stickers. And you can get stickers for $500. That's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I get paid pretty good money. So once in a while, we'll just go behind the back door. But boy, if they catch you doing that, they'll yell at you, right? Because you're making. But you have to just throw them on the blogger tables at VMworld and just kind of have them out there. And we don't know where they came from. Oh, the community did those stickers. We didn't do those stickers. We didn't do that. So it is an interesting thing. I'm sure that the PowerCLI logo, the old one, will be around for a long time, right? So don't too much, but the new one looks very clouded. It is a good point to talk about, the fact that PowerCLI does now control cloud workloads, and that we're modernizing what we control at the same time. It's not just all on-prem automation. It's now that. And it's good that you called out when we talked, you talked a little bit about developer versus admin, right? And we have the code program, which is about code, but we really have to tell people they always ask us, what's the difference between code and, doing developers, working directly with developers. I'm like, well, admins really need to learn how to be developers, and many of them write plenty of PowerCLI code, right? And there's control structure in that code, and so you're a coder, right? But you're not what we would call a traditional developer. Although I think that we should blur that definition to where anybody that sits at a keyboard now and then can type keys can be a developer, right? Whatever that means, right? You're developing documents. What does developer actually mean? I get a little high level obscure there, but I think that it's to the point of, if you're writing any kind of code that's instructional, then you're kind of a developer. You might not be developing a mobile app on your iPhone or Android, but you're writing code, and therefore developer.vmware.com, which, good call out. We've just decided to use the developer brand name for the code project and all the stuff. So the code website just, landed at developer.vmware.com. It's the same. It's the same site, same stuff. Sample exchange is there, all the stuff that you're used to going to see. But now this allows us to plug in some of the other stuff, like the Kubernetes stuff that's focused on developer can also land in there, right? Where the code program was really data center automation. It is the million data center IT, influencers that come here. They're the ones that are using that site. But now, because we have developer, we can expand that into, the pivotal stuff where we are talking to real developers. So we'll have both developers and, our IT infrastructure admins there as well. Yeah.
Just to add, I think I'm hearing an echo.
Oh, you're getting an echo.
Yeah. Now it's good.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. Just to add to this particular conversation, I think if I consider myself, I'm a big fan of writing scripts and then, compiling those particular scripts in a different function. It just helps me out, modifying the script or troubleshooting that XYZ script. But there are other system administrators which don't really use things like class and object functions and all those high level programming constructs. So it really depends which way you would like to script your automation solutions. But yeah, as you have rightly said, if you are writing bunch of line of code, you are certainly categorized into that coder category. But yeah, nobody stops you to be a developer if you want to be. So yeah, right. That's where that thin line remains.
So if you want to go download the latest release, where do I go again? I just go to vmware.com/what? Where do I go? VMware.
For a blog?
To go get the latest release of PowerShell or PowerCLI.
Okay. So for that, if you want to do the online installation, you can simply use the update module cmdelete, which is then and there itself within PowerShell, and you can use update module /vmware.powercli. It will download the latest and greatest bits that are available for PowerCLI. How it's done is basically it reaches out to PowerShell gallery and from there it basically downloads the required bits to run the PowerCLI. Um, Earlier we used to had these particular bits available in the zip format as well on code.vmware.com. I think these are still available, but yeah, you can always reach out to PowerShell Gallery. You can either choose to do the online installation or you can do the offline installation. So it's the PowerShell Gallery where we basically deploy our PowerCLI code.
Okay, great. So just invoke that; it'll update itself, and
Yeah.
you have the new release, no problem, right? And if you want, you can go to developer.vmware.com with the old code.vmware.com and go look for it. It's published in there somewhere.
Yes.
Right. As we come up to the top of the bottom of the hour here, because we're doing this at an odd time, but I'll just say the top of the hour, bottom of the hour. I always ask people, where do we think we're going? How often are we going to be seeing releases coming out? Because we're in this cloud space now. You have auto update. What's your cadence for doing new releases?
That's kind of a challenge, existing challenge on our side, where we release once in a while for, let's say, 3 to 4 month period, and then we have a new PowerCLI release available. What we are trying to basically do is, can we uh, can we provide regular updates on PowerCLI on a very frequent basis? Because let's say even if you have a small bug which can be fixed, let's say probably in a couple of days, you have to wait for the next release to basically release that particular bug fix. So that's one challenge that I think our team is trying to figure out, how frequent and what's the best way to release PowerCLI so that we can deliver our features and improvements more faster. But yeah, to answer your question, you can always expect anything between 3 to 4 months. You can expect a major PowerCLI release.
Yeah, so pretty quick, right? These days. Right. All right, good. And then coming in, we always ask, like, so what excites you? I know you're moving on to a new role. Who's taking over your role with regards to management of PowerCLI or tech marketing management?
It is
What's
it is a still work in progress. We don't really have any specific name as of now, but yeah, until then I will be continuing doing what I'm doing right now with PowerCLI. So yeah, it's been taken care. Yeah, the one thing that I would like to highlight is, because we have released these new API bindings for vSphere, and these are following the Open API specification. There are requests and there are possibilities that we will release the new API bindings for the other products as well. So for example, some of our other products like vRealize, NSX, does have the REST APIs and Open API specification. And as this is basically an auto-generated API bindings, we have a process through which we generate these API bindings. So you can expect some of the new API bindings on the similar line for the other products as well. So that's one area that our team is actively working on. And as always, yeah, just look out for the high-level CM relate across the VMware product ecosystem. So these are some of the areas that team is currently working on.
Nice. And then finally, we will do the. So, what excites you about going into your new role, right? Because I know you've got a new role. Did you choose this new role, or did you get moved into the new role? And what excites you about what you're going to get to do in 2022?
Yeah, I think the one thing that excites me is like your ability to choose your destination for running your workloads, right? Uh, it can be on-prem, it can be on any of the public cloud that we have the offerings now, and it just gives you the flexibility in terms of scaling your infrastructure, or solving some of the security and DR related scenarios, right? For example, we have VMC on AWS, which has its own features and its own coverage. If you, let's say, have an immediate requirement for a data center expansion, you can certainly request for an SDDC in the VMC on AWS, and it can quickly scale up, scale down depending on the use case that you have. The another area that I'm very much interested is in the application modernization. The cloud native is a growing space. VMs are just one of the workload. There are other workloads which are basically container and Kubernetes based, and you can always pick and choose the destination depending on what suits you, and then you can run these particular workloads in a hybrid environment. You can have some of the workloads in on-prem and then some of the workloads in the cloud native space, or in some of the public cloud. So I think these are some of the areas that I'm actively looking for, and I'm more keen on learning this particular space as we move on.
Yeah, we did a holiday special where we did 12 days of holiday. You know, it's off the old song 12 Days of Christmas, but being, neutral on holiday specific terms, 12 days of holidays where we took you through 12 things to go learn about Kubernetes, right? And it started with just learning what it is. And we gave you a blog article. Corey did the blog article that take you through 12 really cool learning things, from doing your home lab to then, managing workload. So if you made it through all 12 steps, you would, have gotten to where you were understanding, Kubernetes much more than you did when you started, which I think is everybody's IT admin's kind of goal over the next year. If, and this has been going on for like 3 years now, where people are learning Kubernetes. It's embedded in vSphere. You can have a home lab, you can do it. You can go take HOLs, you can learn it there. And then learning how, it truly does support multi-cloud, right? And being able to select what cloud you're running on for a particular service, because the cloud vendors, they're trying to set themselves up as specialty service offerings, right? For certain pieces of your infrastructure. So you can imagine that Oracle Cloud probably does pretty well at databases and also PeopleSoft and some other stuff that they own, right? That they're building cloud services that do really well at allowing you to build custom applications that would help your enterprise, using their cloud services. Yeah, you're not going to migrate your whole data center to Oracle Cloud. Therefore, you're going to have some workloads running in Oracle. And then if you look at Azure, they're doing great at Exchange and mail servers and all the other things that they host. And so you, as an architect or as an IT guy, you're looking at selecting these services based on, the vendor's software capabilities that give your enterprise the most bang for the buck. And then you're needing to manage all this and then let alone run it all and keep it all running. So it's a challenging space. I can see where you'd want to go over there and learn how all this works. And, if you look at where VMware is going, we really want to be the true multi-cloud vendor, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well,
I think just one last comment on this. I think for system administrator, if you consider your time in your system administration days, there are some times when you really needed that extra bit of capacity or a space where you can run or migrate the workload on an immediate basis. I think multi-cloud is the solution for you. I still remember when we did the data center relocation, we actually had to shut down one of the data center for 48 hours just because we didn't really had any capability to migrate those particular workloads to the other destination. So I think some of these use cases are certainly complementing the current business requirement. And of course, there are some of the requirements where you are required to keep that particular data at this specific region or at a specific location. So in that particular case, rather than building a new data center, you can always opt for any cloud provider which has got the coverage in those particular locality. So I think, pretty much a very wide variety of use cases that exist in front of us. There is more of a flexibility. It just, you need to decide what use case you want to pick and how you would like to proceed further in the multi-cloud space.
Jatin Purohit, are you on Twitter?
Yes, I'm on Twitter.
Why don't we do a shout out of where people can follow you? What's your handle?
Yeah, it is @Jatin Purohit 92. Let me quickly share this in the chat.
Awesome. So @JatinPurohit 92.
Yes.
Perfect. There you go. Well, that's good. Everybody reach out, give him a follow. Jatin, thanks a lot for coming on the show and being here. Appreciate you staying up late. Welcome to 2022. We always ask at the end, because we are at vBarbecue, youtube.com/vBarbecue. If you want to see what he looks like and you want to see what I look like, you can go there and watch the videos that we have. We're trying to reorganize that channel a little bit so you can find the ones that we just published. We talk barbecue now. So in India, do you guys do any barbecue? And if so, what's your favorite barbecue?
It's not very famous in India. I mean, the place where I live, it's not that very common. But yeah, there are some places in India which is like in the northern part of world or probably in the northeast. Yeah, people do tend to do the barbecue parties and things of those nature. So yeah, it's quite diverse when it comes to the food culture. It really varies from place to place.
Well, we've been doing Korean barbecue, which basically is like an upside down wok that goes on a fire on a grill, and then you just put the meat on it. Do you guys do any of that kind of, that's not what I would call traditional US barbecue, but do you guys do any kind of saucy meat frying? Because I would classify anything where you take meat, put a sauce on it, and then cook it as a barbecue.
I have seen other people doing it, but I'm the wrong person to answer this particular question because I'm a vegetarian. I don't really eat any of these stuff. But yeah, there are other folks who does.
Do you barbecue vegetables? How do you cook your vegetables?
Yeah,
I'm not letting you off the hook.
So yeah, there are different ways. We prepare probably vegetable boiling, probably stirring it. There are some different ways. Again, it depends on what kind of meal you want.
You're
to prepare.
far away from Texas barbecue, I would say. That's
yes,
it's a very very when you say boiling, we go, oh no, really, no, don't do that. No.
Yeah.
All right, Jatin. Well, thanks a lot for being on the show. Thanks a lot for managing the PowerCLI stuff, and looking forward to cloud stuff over the next year as you work through that. And hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks, Eric. And once again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everyone.